Whether you like him or not, Tucker Carlson could be the most influential conservative in the United States. He has a reputation for being blunt, particularly when criticizing the Obamas or the political class as a whole for their strategic use of identity politics. But when he discovered a shocking secret about the Obamas, not even the sharp-tongued critic could speak. Not only that, it will shock you to your core. However, before we delve into this shocking revelation, it is imperative that we learn about Tucker Carlson and the reasons behind his unwavering courage in confronting influential political leaders. Carlson has made a name for himself by slamming powerful figures, particularly the Obamas, with his forthright criticism and penchant for tackling taboo subjects. I don't see why not even he can explain this most recent epiphany. In conservative circles, Tucker Carlson is well known for popularizing extreme right-wing ideology and bringing it into the national political discourse. But if you want to know who this man is who has spent his life fighting the political establishment, you should go into his background. The world Tucker entered as a baby influenced his unwavering perspective. The artist Lisa McNear Lombardi Carlson was his mother, and the media mogul Richard Warner Carlson was his father. However, Tucker's upbringing was far from idyllic. His mother abandoned the family, uprooted to France, and severed all ties with him when he was just 6 years old. After that, Tucker and Buckley, his younger brother, lost all contact with her. A setback that surely had an impact. Richard Carlson moved his sons to La Jolla, California, after his divorce, so they could start again. Until his father remarried, Tucker carved out his life there, attending local schools. The newfound stability in their lives was brought about by Patricia Swanson, his stepmother, who was a member of the family that owned the Swanson food empire. During Tucker's time as a teenager at the Rhode Island boarding school St. George's, he met Susan Andrews, the daughter of the headmaster, and they would go on to be married. Tucker faced challenges in his pursuit of further education despite his high intellectual aspirations. His future father-in-law ultimately helped him get into Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut, after he had been rejected multiple times. After graduating from Trinity College in 1991, Tucker's first plan was to join the CIA. However, when that opportunity passed, he followed the counsel of his father, who had been a journalist, and decided to pursue journalism instead. Soon after beginning her career as a fact-checker for the conservative publication Policy Review, Carlson relocated to Little Rock, Arkansas, and began doing opinion pieces for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. In 1995, he got his big break when he became an employee of William Kristol's conservative thought journal, The Weekly Standard. In the same year, CBS newsreader Dan Rather interviewed Carlson for 48 hours during the much-publicized O.J. Simpson trial, marking Carlson's first television appearance. He began making frequent appearances as a conservative analyst on many news shows after this. Carlson co-hosted CNN's The Spin Room in 2000, however the show was cancelled after a few seasons owing to poor ratings. He joined Democratic strategist Paul Begala as co-hosts of CNN's Crossfire, a long-running debate program, in 2001. Jon Stewart, who was the anchor of The Daily Show in 2004, made an appearance on Crossfire and attacked Carlson and Begala, accusing them of being political hacks who were harming America by encouraging partisan bickering instead of real debate. This brought the show's notoriously intense debates to a peak. 3 months after Stewart's remarks went viral, CNN's president canceled Crossfire, openly agreeing with Stewart's criticism. A turning point in Carlson's career, this event ended his early tenure on CNN and set the stage for his future work in conservative media. Once Tucker Carlson finished his time at CNN, he moved on to MSNBC and presented a show simply called Tucker. Up until 2008, Carlson was able to hone his craft as a media conservative on the show. However, he quickly shifted gears, a move that would have a profound impact on his professional trajectory. Carlson co-founded The Daily Caller in 2010 with his former college friend and current Republican political advisor, Neil Patel. With the intention of serving as a bastion for right-leaning users, this conservative news and opinion website gained momentum rapidly. The Daily Caller, however, started relying largely on sensationalism and strong language in its pursuit of a larger audience. Conservative critique wasn't the only thing anymore. A number of extreme statements, including conspiracy theories, sexist attacks on Democratic leaders, and lack of evidence, began appearing on the site. Its reputation in mainstream circles was tarnished by critics who pointed out that it frequently promoted racist and sexist attitudes. Carlson sold his ownership part to Patel in 2020, separating himself from the site. Under Patel's direction, the Daily Caller persisted, but Carlson's departure signaled a return to television, where he would subsequently achieve much more fame. Conservative ideas held by Carlson have only strengthened over the years. They stem from his profound distrust of elites, governmental meddling, and the establishment media. He now strongly believes in the importance of free speech, personal liberty, and a reasonable skepticism of authority figures. These opinions weren't random thoughts. His experience in media and television, during which he worked for networks such as Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, and others, has influenced them. On each of these sites, he could express his views and condemn what he perceived as media liberal bias. Millions of people who shared his distrust of the political establishment found an outlet for his conservative views on Tucker Carlson Tonight. By 2021, his impact was evident, landing him a spot on Time magazine's list of the most powerful conservatives in America. The show allowed him the flexibility to cover themes that other media sources ignored, which only added to his appeal among conservatives. It solidified his position as a leading voice in American conservative politics and was a clear acknowledgement of his progress from his early days in the media. Given his impressive track record, it's not surprising that he became known as the left's greatest enemy. In particular for the Obama family. Tucker Carlson argues that the rise to political power is not necessarily a linear process. And sophisticated and deliberate strategy lies beneath the scripted remarks and polished public appearances. When looking at Barack Obama's time in politics, this becomes even more apparent. His ascent to power appeared to be organic, but Carlson argues that it was actually rather planned. Carlson saw Obama's early campaign speeches, full of optimism, unity, and change, as more than merely motivational talks. They were a component of Obama's well-planned political strategy. The American people, who were ready for a change, responded strongly to these lectures. However, Carlson contends that they were also orchestrated with deliberate intent to influence public opinion and portray Obama as a reconciliatory figure. It was a nuanced political message play, demonstrating Obama's adeptness at manipulating public opinion through his mastery of the political and media landscapes. Yet, Carlson notes a change in emphasis and tone as the Obama administration developed. This was a strategic move with far-reaching effects on American politics. It wasn't an emotional response to new information. Carlson claims that the Obama administration's shift in emphasis from unity and optimism to new themes was a result of top-down strategic planning. The narrative started to change, and the way it changed showed how influential and powerful people were in the system. Specifically, Carlson mentions the Obama administration during Obama's second term, when the president was running for re-election. On the cusp of a major shift in circumstances. Many of the worst policies implemented by Bush were continued by Obama's administration, in his view. According to Carlson, the Obama administration opted to divert attention from its shortcomings by focusing on culture conflicts, as there were no significant accomplishments to rally behind. Not only was this a political reaction, but it was also an effort to quell uprisings like Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party, which he says were dangerously near to overthrowing the political establishment. As part of this larger aim to change political discourse, Carlson also mentions the increasing use of woke terminology and ideology. He does not pretend to have all the answers, but he does believe that these cultural tensions have recently flared up as part of a larger plot to change the subject and change the course of national discourse. According to Carlson, the whole Obama presidency shows how a political leader develops and how power and influence are carefully used behind the scenes to keep the political landscape under control. Carlson thinks that the media and public discourse were particularly impacted by these strategic decisions, and that the long-term ramifications of these actions became apparent with time. Evidence that political speech was not left to its own devices but was instead guided by an organized effort is what he cites. These shifts in framing political messaging, in his view, altered the course of American politics for all time. They changed more than simply the tone of the conversation. A new paradigm for politics and story manipulation was established by them. According to Carlson, a masterclass in narrative control evolved from an organic change in political discourse. He asserts that these strategic shifts in emphasis, particularly towards contentious cultural matters, weren't impulsive but rather intended to alter the national dialogue. He thinks these calculated actions transformed people's relationship with politics over time, making the media an effective instrument for shaping public opinion and dictating the terms of political discourse. While Tucker Carlson has been critical of Obama administration policy, he has also attacked Barack Obama personally, questioning his character and the reasons behind his actions. In his many attacks on Obama's legitimacy, Carlson has hinted that the president's ascent to power was due less to his own abilities and more to the influence of hidden elites. A highly debated and contentious comment made by Carlson included his persistent advocacy of the conspiracy theory claiming that Obama was not born in the US. There was a surge of support for Carlson's birther thesis, particularly in the opinion of Obama's detractors. However, one of the most significant shots of the 21st century originated from an interview that took place in 2021 and became one of the most prominent conspiracy theories. Once again in 2023, Tucker Carlson stirred things up by reintroducing Larry Sinclair to the limelight. In 1999, long before Barack Obama became famous, the notoriously wild and unfounded claims-maker Sinclair accused Obama of drug addiction and sexual misconduct. What began as a cocaine transaction soon became something more personal, according to Sinclair, after the two met outside a Chicago pub. Even though they had a wild night together under the influence of drugs, Sinclair maintained that he was completely unaware of Obama's identity at the time. These accusations have been leveled by Sinclair before. In 2008, while Obama was running for president, he initially made similar statements, but the mainstream media mostly disregarded or downplayed them. To further support his implausible account, Sinclair included an allegation that Obama had an affair with a choir director who was later killed. But Carlson saw it from a different perspective. He implied that the media's decision to sidestep Sinclair's reports was motivated by a desire to maintain their access to Obama, rather than any sense of journalistic integrity or skepticism. Carlson asserts that in order to avoid being barred from covering the burgeoning political star, the media avoided reporting on these explosive charges. According to Carlson, Obama made this strategic decision to shelter himself from unfavorable storylines while he was running for president. Although Tucker Carlson has targeted Barack Obama, he is not the only Obama family member to do so. Also, he has been outspoken in his disapproval of Michelle Obama, especially over her participation in identity politics, as Carlson puts it. Whenever Tucker Carlson has something negative to say about Michelle Obama, he says it loud and clear. Especially in relation to the way she employs identity politics and race. The disparity between her wealthy upbringing and the victim story she frequently tells is highlighted by him. Carlson claims it's dishonest of Michelle Obama to portray herself as a victim of prejudice, even though she attended Princeton for free and spent a lot of her life among the privileged. He makes an analogy to Hillary Clinton, pointing out that both women, although being members of the ruling class, portray themselves as victims of prejudice. This, he thinks, is all part of a larger plan to keep a relatable but deceiving image. The seeming inconsistency of Michelle Obama's lifestyle is another topic Carlson covers. To drive home his claim that Michelle Obama, despite her story of struggle, has always been a part of the wealthy class, he compares the Obama's lavish mansions to those of former President Jimmy Carter and other modest figures. If Michelle Obama wants to connect with those who are suffering, she can't keep using race, in Carlson's view, because her campaign promises of empathy and equality don't match her lifestyle. Additionally, he takes issue with Michelle's racial sentiments in public, citing an example where she said she was afraid for her children's safety on the road. Uneasy about the racial judgments that people might make about them. It appears like Michelle was trying to promote her new Netflix series at the expense of actually addressing the needs of ordinary Americans, since Carlson claims that these remarks were precisely timed to coincide with heightened racial tensions following George Floyd's death. According to Carlson, Michelle uses her race and heritage to further establish her own brand, just like other famous people who engage in identity politics. According to him, her lucrative speaking engagements and book sales stem from the victimhood narrative that she promotes, which speaks to specific demographics but doesn't capture the realities faced by the average American. Michelle was portrayed as an idealized symbol of optimism and resilience, but Carlson did not believe her. He was quick to bring out the gap, in his opinion, between her meticulously maintained public persona and the truth lurking behind the scenes. He believed that the media elevated her to an untouchable status and ignored any criticism or shortcomings. You see, while serving as First Lady, Michelle Obama became known for her impeccable taste in clothing, making an impression with her refined taste and expensive designer selections. Her impeccable taste in clothing was often lauded, whether she was attending an inauguration ball in a Jason Wu gown or a state banquet in an Alexander McQueen number. Not everyone was a fan of her stylish outfits, though. Her fashionable clothes, which may cost thousands of dollars, were criticized by some who thought they contradicted her claim to represent ordinary Americans. Never one to keep back, Tucker Carlson made his voice heard loud and clear over this. He said Michelle's pricey outfits didn't exactly exude relatability. A dress costing $12,000 wasn't only an accessory for him. It was a sign that she had little understanding of the plight of middle and lower class Americans. Despite her modest origins, the First Lady depicted by Carlson looked to be residing in a world apart from the lives of others struggling to make ends meet. What sparked controversy, though, wasn't only the outfits. The way Michelle lived while in the White House was also a point of contention, with her vacation to Spain in 2010 being particularly criticized. Staying at a five-star hotel and having a sizable security detail were two aspects of the vacation that many found offensive. Fueling the fire was the fact that security and transportation were paid for with taxpayer dollars. This excursion highlighted Carlson's complete disconnection from reality. Seeing the First Lady take a lavish trip didn't sit well with many Americans who were dealing with unemployment and financial uncertainty at the time. There were others who shared Carlson's criticism. Michelle has spoken often about her working-class background in Chicago heritage, yet some saw a different side to her. Carlson said that Michelle's decisions didn't show that she understood the average American's existence, and this led to these conversations centering on the gap between her past and present lifestyle.